All right, Dr. C, we are live. Are you ready to kick this thing off, brother?
Yes, sir. Bring it on.
Let's do it.
KTTV, giving you what you need. Motivation, education unleashed. H-Town representing, we forever keep it rolling. Join the conversation with inspirational stories. Thought-provoking, feel that energy. Kendrick Thomas aiming to lift the community. True indeed, tune in, come and see. Giving you what you need. KTTV, let's go. Hey, KTTV. Hey.
What it do, KTTV? This is KT, and I'm coming at you live with another episode of Education Unleashed. And on tonight's episode, I have the Doctoral Program Director, Professor of Educational Leadership at the University of Houston, Clear Lake, 20-year veteran educator, the man himself, Dr. Antonio Corrales. How you doing tonight, Dr. C?
How you doing? What a pleasure to see you today and to spend some time with your audience. I'm excited, man.
Look, man, I am very excited. I know it's a go, go, go world. And we're coming closer to that weekend, so it's starting to be a little wind down. So I want to say thank you for taking some time out the busy schedule to come on and just talk about these educational gaps, how we close them, leadership, everything that we'll be discussing tonight, man. Thank you for sharing your expertise about it.
Oh, thank you for giving me the time. I'm excited to join your show. I love your energy, like I told you before, and I'm just it's such an honor to be here, man.
Yes, sir. So before we do that and get into the show tonight, I always like to do a check-in, man. So I would ask Doc, how are you? And how have you been maintaining that healthy work-life balance as we go forth in this thing?
That's a great question. I'm doing great. But it's not a coincidence. I work really hard on my mental health and my physical health, and I really do it systematically. So it's not people say, "Oh, you're so positive. You do this, you do that." Well, it's a consequence of a lot of work. I work a lot of my spirituality and my physicality, and so all the aspects of my well-being, so I can serve others. And I think that's something that I try to, tell my students and my colleagues and my friends that, you have to invest time on yourself so you can help others. So I'm doing great, man. Thank God, blessed, and, continue helping people. That's what I love to do.
And the biggest thing about it sounds so cliche, but you cannot pour from an empty cup, no matter what you do.
100%. And I think, it's just today's society with so many resources that we have available on YouTube and so you don't really have to reinvent the wheel, right? You can really find help in a lot of areas and to systematically keep your well-being on check. And I think that's where some of the leaders, to be honest, sometimes fail because they just going. Like you said, they have empty cup, and then you don't really have too much to give.
Yeah, too much to give, man. And next thing you know, crash. And I am guilty of that myself. I will keep going, but as of late, I've been getting my workout on, been getting back in the gym, getting my mental health going. But I will need a couple tips from you, Dr. C. So look for that email to be coming, man. I need to get myself together.
Yes, sir. Man.
Yes, sir. All right, man. So what we'll do, let's get into a little news. I like to always kind of start it off, keeping us abreast of what's going on. So let's check it out. News, courtesy of Education Week or edweek.org. It says, how well are schools doing? And so fitting as we talk tonight, because it says not great, say most adults and teens. And so it says adolescents and adults in the United States say schools are not up to the task of preparing children for a successful future. And that comes from Common Sense Media, which is a nonprofit research and advocacy organization. They say more than half of the adults, 58%, and adolescents, 57%, said that K-12 public schools are doing a poor or just fair job of educating children. Let's see here. So the biggest thing they said is when they talk to the adults, The adults and teens took the survey, said that there are an array of problems. And so for the adults, these issues included students not reading at grade level, teacher shortages due to burnout and low pay, bullying, and student and mental health issues or struggles. And so the teens pointed out mental health struggles as the top education challenge, along with the bullying, low teacher pay. What they know about what we get paid. Students followed behind academically, book bans, and well, that was pretty much what it said. And so they talked to one of the superintendents. And so she is Shari Kami, the superintendent of Baldwin Union Free School District. She's in New York, and she said she thinks that they do an excellent job with the funding that they have, the resources, but it's a lot of restrictions. I think if we have the ability to change policy and increase funding, we would just do an even better job than we're already doing. So for me, what this boils down to was this one sentence, and it says creating more of a culture where students and teachers feel like they can connect with the administration. I think it's a great way to increase the ratings of public education. And so, with that being said, Doc, thinking about your expertise, the biggest piece I took from that is connection. How do we tune in to the students that we're having, as the district leaders, to the teachers that we're having, to be able to have one come in as themselves with full cups? So how have you seen that connection fostered, and what do you think about that article?
To be honest, the disconnect that I see in most cases is lack of trust. I think most of stakeholders, really believe that the other have an agenda, and if you look at from the administrator perspective or the teacher perspective, they think that the city administrator has the dark side, and the administrator see policymakers as the dark side, and then the parents, in many occasions they support the schools or the teachers, but there's lack of integration within all these stages of power. So I think that a really important step that we can do forward is basically developing trust in each other, and that doesn't happen automatically. You and I know that happened with systematic work, that happened with investing time and relationship, and do it in a way that the other, all the parts involved think that you have a win-win situation. And I think that's something that we as a school, because we go mode, we tend to forget. And if we start investing a little more time on relationships and building trust, I think there's a lot of good ways that we can advance. So that's my general assessment in regards to that article and the news, is that there's a disconnect internally, that if we work in building trust, I think we can bypass that.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Earlier this season, when I did the article, we talked about the connection that kids feel, and so it was a longitudinal study, I guess you could say. So they caught the kids in elementary school, followed those kids all the way up to high school, and by high school, 58% of those students changed the way that they felt about school. And it was the lack of that connection, lack of the trust with the teachers. And I guess the one big piece of it was their parent support. You think about that hovering mother in elementary, right? That hawk mother. But I noticed probably around middle school, especially high school, then they're pretty much on their own. So I think that's a big piece of it, man.
Yeah, and let's be honest, how systematic are we with parents in regards to training, and how to make them good parents? Like I never receive any major training from my public. You say, well, that's a parent responsibility. Yes, it is. But what happens when I don't have the training on my own, or when I don't have the resources on my own? I think we need to do a better job from the school system to not engage parents, but give them specific training on how to help their children at home, and how to be engaged with the children at all the ages. Because you're right. It's not the same to be a parent from an elementary child and for a middle school child, from a high school child, from a college child. So I think that from this public school perspective, as administrators and also as policymakers, we have to make a more considered effort to train parents on how to become better parents. We don't do any of that. We do some parent involvement here and there, but there's not a systematic way to, like, there's not a school for parents, and then we expect parents all of a sudden magically to help kids at all the ages, and it just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah. Hey, when you think about school for parents, big shout out to A and Dr. Terry. They always hold the I don't want to say it's Parent University, A-League
Oh, yeah.
Parent University. Yeah,
Mhm.
something she does every year, but it's a
That's so cool.
big conference and bringing in the parents and giving them those skills, man.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. That's
Yes, sir.
that's really important. If we really want to make a change and close that gap that you're talking about between parents
Yes, sir.
and students.
Most definitely, man. All right. Well, that will do it for the news, y'all. Man, great story tonight. But it's always talking about, we always talking about that current state of education and what can we do to get better. And so the biggest thing is listening to those kids, right? Because they will tell you the truth.
Yes,
Hey.
sir.
All right. So what we'll do, man, so excited tonight to get a chance to talk about some of these educational gaps. So, well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we will jump into our interview. And that way, you already talked about you already showed them a little bit of the pizzazz. Now let's get into who is Dr. C. So we'll be right back.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the
Shameless plug. If you have not been to kttv.com, make sure that you get there. We got merch. Look, this is one of the merch. We'll get to that later. Hey, all right, y'all. We are back. Education Unleashed. And I am here with Dr. Antonio Corrales, University of Houston, Clear Lake. The brother has been on the grind for about 20 years. Dr. C, before we jump into this work tonight, talking about these educational gaps, can you give us a little bit of background on your experience and the work that you've been doing in education?
Absolutely, man. I'm an immigrant from Venezuela who came to this country 20 years ago. My story is kind of crazy. It's totally unorthodox from education. In my former life in Venezuela, I was a civil engineer. Then I went and did my MBA in Germany. Came back to Venezuela, ran for governor when I was 24, and I was gonna get killed by Chavez and his regime because I was against them, and so I had to flee the country. Came here with my family, kind of to reinvent myself again, and to be honest, at that point, the only available jobs were in education, and I had a passion to help people, so I said, well, I'm gonna try, and I fall in love with it, and then I started doing my master, and then all of a sudden I became a campus administrator, and then I did my doctorate, became a central office administrator, and I thought I was going to be a school superintendent. I got a job offer outside Chicago while living in Houston. My family didn't want to move, literally told me to go kick rocks, and I ended up taking the job at the university. Super scared at the beginning because it was way less payment, and I was scared about everything. But ended up being the best decision of my life. I created my own consulting company. I started writing a lot of books, and a lot of doors started opening. Started doing consulting for the U.S. Department of Ed and helping a lot of school districts in the nation and around the world. And took over the doctoral program, started training superintendents, tripled the enrollment of the doctoral program, and now it's one of the most prestigious programs in the nation, thanks to the help of a lot of people and the effort of a lot of students. So really happy, really proud of my educational world. Have two children, a 22-year-old doing school law, and I have a 20-year-old who recently graduated from Texas A&M going to do marketing. And I have my wife is a principal in Texas City, UC. So I mean, we're busy, man. We're working all the time, and like you said, man, I'm always in projects, and I'm always working on different things. I have published 5 books here in America, and I'm working on my next one. And so I'm excited to be here to brainstorm with you about how can we help the world, man.
Yeah, man, what a story, man. You think about it, you hear all those stories about like Chavez and how it was down there, but to have someone who was like personally affected from that, and of course, yeah, you would say opposing and running for office. Oh man, that's trouble. Most definitely, man.
And it gave me a lot of experience, to be honest. It gave me a lot of life lessons that to this day I still apply, and that's what I try to do with my books. To be honest with you, I make like short stories but where I try to put a lot of instructional like principles there so people can learn with stories. And one of my books is about that. It's about what I learned about politics, and I think that's one of the things that hinders a lot of leaders, that they don't understand politics. And politics has a lot
Mm,
of bad reputation. When you say politicians, people tend to think corruption, but there's a lot of political science aspects that if you don't understand them, then you're probably going to have a really low chance to survive in school system. Or and so I try to train my students on that area, that it's not only getting that position, but how do you survive there and how do you make a difference, right?
that's about it, man. Because getting the position is almost like I mean, that's the easiest part of the game, I think, man. The next part is what happens when you get there. I was fortunate enough to have Mr. Walker on from Region 4. And so we
Mhm.
talked about a lot about that, building up those leaders. What do you do from that seat? So most definitely, man. I'm getting ready to hopefully turn the page. We did some mock interviews last night, working
Nice.
with principal. So let's
That's
see how
awesome.
it goes, man. No, so
Um,
like I say every week, man, everybody I talk to has already been in these shoes. So please know you will be getting that information, that email from me saying, "Hey, Doc, I got a question." All right,
you're gonna do great, man.
man.
I'm sure.
Yes, sir. Man, thank you for that background. So now just get into tonight talking about these educational gaps and what are some of the solutions. And so when you think about, I like kind of sending out the Google form and getting people to say, okay, well, what do you want to talk about? What would be your area of expertise? And so you said that that's something you want to discuss. So man, give us a little bit of your insight on some of the work that you've done with just closing those educational gaps as you went through your career.
I love it, man. Thank you, bro. So I have been since I started education, I have been always obsessed about closing achievement gaps. But how do you do it systematically? How do you do it sustainably? In other words, let's say you get a position as a principal, and then you leave that position, and then you may increase this course, but when you leave it, they go down. Or you get a job as a superintendent, and you make your school district great, but then you leave, and then things start going down. So how do we make this sustainable? So I've been in that search my entire career. In the past 5 years, I feel that I found a system that cracked that code, and it's about systematic brain development. And um, when the first time I saw it, I was really at awe because I never, to be honest, there was a point that I was close to give up, and in regards to can we find a true solution, because most of the time what we do in the school system, my friend, is that we try to attack everything from the student from the academic content part. In other words, the way that we solve problem in education, if you're talking about behavior, you're talking about achievement gaps, or you're talking about any of the areas that we see gaps, the school system is wired to close those gaps by teaching more or teaching better. And we think that, well, that's the magic solution. What I discovered during these past 5 years, and I have been a big researcher and practitioner is in the systematic brain development. What happened in the brain of individuals for them to act specifically in one direction or another? And so, going back to your question, I was able to work on what is called the executive functions of the brain, which is not new research, by the way. But I was able to work with a group that developed a system to measure brain gaps, and then systematically help to close those brain gaps. And then at the same time, you put content. One thing that is important for people to understand is that the brain develops, for the most part, within 90% of the brain developed within 0 to 6 or 7 years of age. Think about that. 90% of your brain, meaning whatever you don't do during that time, you're going to pay the price later on. And so what we do in the school system, for the most part, not only in America but in a lot of countries in the world, is that we play defense instead of offense. We already, when we start children in the school system, they're already arriving with a big gap. And that's what happened is that we try to close that gap by teaching more and teaching better, and that's not the solution. So I've been working really hard on helping school districts number one, understand what brain development is, and number two, how to implement brain development in their system, which is hard sometimes. 'Cause, school districts have their own policies, their own curriculum, their own stuff. So how do they adapt their curriculum to brain development, and make it a priority? So that has been my journey these past years, and I'm really passionate about it because I really believe that that's the solution to create better individuals in the world, not just to produce better scores, not just to produce better grades, but to produce individuals who have work ethic, grit, that are more adaptable, that can be more successful in the workplace, or can be more successful in college. Um, I think one of the problems that we have, we tend to correlate success in the academic world with success in life. And how many times we
Mm.
see children who are super smart that get in a lot of trouble, or vice versa. Students who are not that smart, but they know how to work hard, and they're getting way farther away than other students. So I think the key point here is, number one, how do we read what's going on in people's brain? And number two, how do we train parents, educators, and society in general how to systematically close those brain gaps so you can create better individuals? That has been my journey during the past year, uh,
Mm.
in a lot
Now,
of.
I know that I know that this is with the consultant, right? So you can't just give us all the game. But as you think about that, and leaving tips for first we'll start with teachers. What have you seen as far as when you're moving through districts, some effective strategies for addressing those achievement gaps and promoting that in schools?
Yes. So one thing that I see over and over, and not only in Texas, because I'm all constantly traveling around the nation. I can tell you, I've been probably in almost every state, including Alaska, during the past 5 years, and not only just visiting classroom, talking to teachers. One thing that I've seen over and over again is that teachers are working harder but not smarter. You see, that's why you see a lot of burned out. So why? Because the teacher, when you go to a classroom, for the most part, I would say 99% of our teachers work really hard. But the problem is they feel that they have to be the protagonist of the classroom. And so when you go to a classroom, you see the teacher sweating, acting, and doing a lot of stuff, which is super noble. But that doesn't mean that passion and that effort is being transmitted to the student. So one thing that I've been working with teachers during the past years, helping them become a facilitator more than a protagonist. How how do you make how do you translate that passion into allowing children, and students in general, to become the owners of their own learning process? And how do you make students, it doesn't matter if they're 4-year old or they're 15-year old, how do you make them self accountable for their learning process? And so that's what I've been trying to. And when teachers are with different techniques, okay, they're able to learn how to do that, you see less teacher burnout, you see less mobility rates, higher teacher retentions, and the climate and the culture in the schools tend to get way better in
Mm.
general. That
Most
makes sense.
definitely. Most definitely. Yeah. That puts me in the mind of, I'm still in the work. So I think about that T test. And
Right.
you think about that teacher who is in improvement needed that has a all teacher centered classroom. And then as you slide across and you think about accomplished distinguished, where it's student centered classroom and that teacher is that facilitator. So just thinking about in line with what you're saying, even that T test is kind of pushing teachers toward that way. And so I think the biggest piece is, man, how do you train that teacher to get to that part? How do you even make them feel comfortable in letting go so much control that students are kind of in control of everything? So yeah. And so have you seen success?
Yes, absolutely. And the key point is that one of the things that I've done is I developed this instrument together with a group of people that can measure what's going on in the brain, and so that given data in three different areas. For example, cognitive flexibility, so basically how flexible and adaptable students are, and of course it has a lot of indicators. I'm just summarizing it, right? You have inhibitory control, basically how can the students control their emotions, how can they behave. And then the other one is working memory. How do they receive information, analyze it, and apply it for new one. So once the students have these indicators, then they can better plan their activities, adapted to different areas in the brain that are gaps. So, because I'm going to give you an example, one of these mistakes that we make in the school system, for example, is that, especially in pre-K4, for example, is that we roster students randomly. You're never gonna see, very seldom you're gonna see rostering, especially when you have children that is the first year in the school system. You really rarely gonna see a principal strategically rostering classroom based on brain development or any type of achievement. They just put all these students and what happens. So what happens if you're teacher A and all of a sudden you get 20 students whose brain are red, what I call red brains, meaning most of their executive functions are not developed. And so age wise, those children are 4 years old, but cognitively wise, meaning from brain development wise, they may be 3 years old or even 2 years old. And then so you expect that teacher to teach 4-year-old students, but that are 2-year-old at a 4-year-old level. So what do you think is going to happen if you tell a toddler, you start teaching a toddler a 4-year-old curriculum? You're probably going to frustrate that toddler. So what we have been doing is we have been helping teachers not only measure what's going on in the brain, but also adapt their activities to their brain so they can increase it as the brain continue increasing. And I can tell you, in 12 weeks, we have been such good results. Teacher get more happy, and you can see how students feel more comfortable, because it's like you and I are playing basketball, and I tell you, okay, we're gonna go play against the Houston Rockets, okay, but we only train for one day. Of course, they're gonna beat us. But if you and I spend some time in an NBA camp, maybe training with NBA players, maybe they're gonna still beat us, but we're gonna have a better level. And so that's what's happening. We're throwing those kids right up front to a 4-year curriculum or a 5th-grade curriculum, and we're not looking at the gaps. So when you help those teachers, kind of aligning their activities, aligning their lesson plans, aligning their scope and sequence, you see better results. I think we have a lot of pressure on teachers. You need to teach all this content in this particular time, and it doesn't matter if the kids are getting it or not. And that's not a winning formula. That's frustrating for everybody.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah.
And as the school leader, and that's what I love about this, man, because you've been in that role. And so
Yes, sir.
as the school leader, when I'm supporting that work, you come in, how do I play a role in closing that achievement gap when it comes down to the program that you're speaking about?
That's a great example. By the way, I'm a big fan of school administrators, because I think they're the most underrated people in the school system. I think we tend to talk a lot about teachers, rightfully so, but we tend to think that the administrators make a lot of money. They have a good, and to be honest, administrators have a lot of responsibilities now more than ever. To me, the hardest job right now in education is being a principal. I think those guys have it extremely hard, with all the requirements and everything that is going on. So I think as an administrator, one thing that I try to do is I try to help is, number one, I try to tell them you need to lead by example. So if we're gonna talk about brain development, for example, well, you need to know more than anybody about brain development, and it's not just another program. It's okay. How, as a leader, are you attacking the root cause of the problem? Because right now, what I feel like we're doing in the school system, I was telling before, is we're putting band-aids, but we're not really attacking the root cause. And let's be honest, it's what I call the hamster trap, right? It's like you're running really hard, but you're staying in the same place. So one thing that I try to do with administrators, and one of my big advices is, number one, try to really understand the problem. Try to think a little bit more. I think one thing as administrators that or leaders in general that we're not doing too much during the past years. We're not thinking. We're trying to go to problem solve right away, because number one, we probably want to save face, or number two, we probably want to look like we know. like we want to try to be helpful, but the rest we're not taking time to think. I don't know if you remember in the school system we used to have what is called wait time. We used to ask one question and we should let the students to kind of think about the answer and then answer. No, we as leaders sometimes we feel that if we don't have solution A, B, C, D right off the bat, we're just letting people down. No, wait a second. There's some problems that you need to take some time to think.
Mhm.
And I think that thinking process is something that as leaders I recommend people to do. So leading by example, taking time to think, um, and number three, building relationships and with the different stakeholders. You know, spending time on building relationships. I know that you get bombarded with a lot of tasks from central office or
Mhm.
from legislators if you're superintendent, but the reality is that you have to spend time with your leaders. Research shows that, for example, with superintendents, they 70% of the job is spent on relationship with the board. So think about this: 70% of the superintendent time is spent with the board, meaning they only have 30% of their time as superintendent. I'm talking about average. Obviously, you're gonna have people who spend a little bit more, a little bit less. I'm talking about average.
Yeah.
30% of their time only in the school system, which is the main reason why they were hired. And
Yeah.
so we definitely need to do a better job on allowing administrators to be leaders instead of
Mm.
bombarding them with a million to-do lists that are nothing to do with their main job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And so now that covers our teacher, that covers our administrator. And I think you talked a little bit to this, but I just want to put it out there because, like you say, that community involvement is so important. And so, um, can you discuss a little bit of that importance of community involvement and partnerships when we're looking to close that achievement gap?
100%. And I think I love your comment about parent university. I'm a big believer on that. I think that
Mhm.
as a school system, we have to do a better job systematically. And that comes from every angle of government and leadership. Excuse me. We need to do a better job systematizing the way that we not only engage with parents, but we also how to educate parents.
Yeah.
We have to start giving them tools. So parent involvement is extremely important. But we have to, I can give you an example. We do a lot of activities in the school system. Let's say we have science night, for example. And so we're going to discuss something. We're gonna tell parents how what is it that is in the science test, for example, in the STAR test. Okay, we do that, but this is the deal. It's a great parent engagement for those who attend. They get sometimes donuts, they get sometimes beverage, whatever. But how much of that content can parents truly bring home, or they're gonna remember bringing home? Very little of that. And so I think that we have to somehow from the school system do a better job of that. I'm gonna give you another example. Um, how many high school parents are trained to complete the FAFSA to apply for college and to help their kids applying for college. I don't know about you,
Mm.
but when I did it with my own kids, and I'm high, I'm educated, I have 4 degrees, and my wife's educated. It was hard, and so imagine for a parent who is not through, really educated or has 2 jobs, and you have a child who
Mm.
who's trying hard to go to college. What type of systematic help are we giving that child? What type of opportunity giving that child through their parents to really have a shot to get to college or to access financial aid? And so I think we have to for sure get better our not only engaging with parents. I think we do a good job engaging with parents through different areas, but I think we're not doing a good job at measuring and systematizing the type of help that we do. And the other thing is recognizing our stakeholders, right?
Mm.
You see schools, for example, that are still using peak of the week. Nothing against peak of the week in a
Yeah.
paper, that's great. But if most of your constituents are Gen Zs, they're probably not gonna read that stuff. You're probably gonna have to attack them to Snapchat, to Instagram, through any Facebook looks like it's only for grandparents. So my
Yeah.
kids don't use Facebook, and then I have a 20-year-old. All I'm saying is we have to do it. it's not about what we are comfortable with, it's what our customers, our parents are are used to it. So if they're generation Z, I promise you that you're probably gonna do a better job reaching out to TikTok, to YouTube, to
Mm.
Snapchat than other methodologies. So it's also using our venues to reach out parents in a more effective way, if that makes sense.
Most definitely, man. And so when I think about that, school turnaround, and so the importance of that school turnaround. So, what are some key factors that contribute when you think about the work that needs to be done, and you think about the work that you're doing coming in? I see the school, new principal comes. What can that principal do to be able to kind of put that school on a path to kind of getting some of the work that you're sharing?
So yeah, the traditional answer is pretty simple. It's what would you and I think everybody can look at that research now. It's basically, you establish a new culture. It's almost like the same thing that happened in team sport, right? You establish a new culture. You probably make some changes in the leadership, and you start holding people more accountable, and also create an environment that people feel happy to work with, but at the same time you have accountability. So those aspects are there. My concern is you have that star principal who goes there and change the whole culture and establish a great thing, and then that principal get promoted or get moved to another place. How do you
Mm.
how do you create a culture that is sustainable regardless of the leadership that you have there? So the answer that's when the answer gets a little more tricky, right? Because then you have to create succession plans. Then you have to spend time training future leaders within your system. Um, so from an egotistical perspective, it's easy to say I just go there and I change the stuff and I did it, then I get promoted, and then what happened with that school? Well, I don't know, right? But
Mm.
from a humane perspective, we have to, as leaders, we have to do a better job at creating systems that are sustainable after we move on to another place. So basically, in summary, you have to take these steps to establish a new culture, to establish some type of accountability system within people, but also establish an environment that people want to go to work, that people feel some kind of a combination between peace, joy, and contentment. So how do you
Mm.
do that? But more importantly to me is what type of systematic training do I put in place where if I move on to another school or if I get promoted or a superintendent or whatever, my school is going to continue having that momentum after I leave. I think to me, that's some of the tragedies that we see in the school system is that you have a great principal go there, make changes, make everything great, and the principal move on to another place. Or you have the same stuff with the superintendent who come here, make changes, and also a new superintendent is like a whole new world. Everybody freak out. It shouldn't be the way. I
Yeah.
think we have to have more more systems in place for succession plans and more systems in place to create sustainability in the culture once we leave. That makes sense.
Most definitely, man. And if I as we get ready to wrap this up on the interview side, let's say for instance, I want to get in touch with you, I want to come get some of the information or invite you into the school. How do we contact you, Dr. C?
Man, you can find me almost anywhere. You Google my name, you're gonna see me everywhere. I'm in, my social media platform is really strong. I'm in TikTok, I'm in YouTube, I'm in Instagram. You just click Dr. C or Antonio Corrales, and you can find me in the University of Houston, Clear Lake. And my information is public. You can even find my cell phone, no problem. I'm a really open individual. Like I'm always willing to help people, and that's what I do. To be honest, I'm constantly traveling around the nation. I'm very blessed that I'm able to do that. I love what I do, and I think that whenever you want to find me, just Google me, and you'll find emails, you'll find anything to contact me, and I'll be happy to entertain any invitation because that's what I love to do.
Love to do it, man. That's it, Doc. So what we'll do, let's take a quick break. First off, man, thank you for this information tonight. As we get ready to run this so much. Man. Look, just thank you. What we'll do, man, we'll take a break. And then when we get back, let's do a little rapid fire, man. Let's learn a little bit about the other side of Dr. C outside that schoolhouse.
Let's do it.
We'll be right back.
You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the
Bam! Right there, right there. A pencil is the least of my words. If you have not picked up the book, make sure, people, that you go pick up Dr. C. You know I'm an author, man. I had to get it in real quick, man. So I got the book and I got the workbook to go with the book, man. So you know, thinking about those achievement gaps, you think about discipline disparities. I think about how schools with high population, other than African American, other than, you know, minority, but the big high population of minority students, how do we bridge that gap, right? And so that's what this book came from.
I love it.
To be able to help. Yes, sir.
I
Yes, sir.
I need to get it, man. I need to get it.
Hey, man, you see the KTTV.com. I will sign it and send it out to you today, man. All right. So now let's get into a little bit of this rapid fire.
go hard, or go home, go home, go hard, go hard, or go home.
All right, y'all. In the rapid fire section, we got Dr. Antonio Corrales. Man, I tried to say it in Spanish, man, but I couldn't get my R's out, man. So yeah, man, what Corrales. All right, so what I'll do, man, is Doc, don't think about it, just react to it. Usually my friends tell us that we're in the gym and it's like 350 pounds on our chest. Just react to it, right? So
let's do it.
10 questions. Number one, what's your favorite book on educational leadership?
Honestly, John Maxwell. I love John Maxwell, but I also love Joel Austin. I love and I love Tony Robbins. So any of those authors, I'm good with it. Any of those books.
Most definitely. Early bird or night owl?
I was an early bird at this
early
age.
Bird. Let's go, man. You gotta get it. Hey, at this age, you're right, man. Look, I'm sleeping in at 6 o'clock for me, man. Hey, man, most definitely, man. Beach vacation or mountain getaway?
Mountain. I think because I live close to the beach. I feel like I think I crave the mountains all the time. Yeah.
Look, man, I'm in Colorado every year, man, heading up 13,000 feet, man. Yes, sir. Coffee or tea?
Tea, for sure. I'm a tea taker. I'm always taking tea. It was a cultural thing in my household, and to this day, I'm drinking green tea the whole day.
Come on, man. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
Any historical figure, I would say Abraham Lincoln. I think it's somebody that really I would love to have a conversation, because I felt that he was so patient, and at the same time he had so many defeats, and ultimately he ended up becoming president, and then all the things that we know he did. So I think Abraham Lincoln will be one.
Yeah, man, that's man. Look, man. Nobody ever went there deep on that one, man. Shout out to you, Dr. C. Hey, man, favorite hobby outside of work?
I love to ski. I mean, you said it, the mountain stuff. Skiing relaxes me. I feel like I'm not a professional one, but I can be pretty competitive, and I love. It's just being with the nature, and I put my headphones and it's just getting there with the skiing stuff. Yeah, something I can do with my family.
I say he want to ski, man. Come on, man. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Be yourself. Be yourself as much as possible. I think when we start being trying to fake things and not be yourself, I think you start carrying a lot of unnecessary burden. So I think if you try to be yourself as much as possible without affecting people and being respectful, I think that you're gonna have a better life, more peaceful one.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Dogs or cats?
Dogs for sure. I have 3 dogs, and I love my.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, respect cats, but I'm a dog guy.
Yeah. Man, I'm with you on that dogs, man. Any whiff of a cat, dude, I'm itching. It's terrible, man. So I'm dogs, man. I'm with you. What's your go-to karaoke song?
My go-to karaoke song, what's the one from Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper? The Shallow.
Okay.
I love to sing that one with my daughter. So like I'm
Oh,
in the
man.
deep end. Yeah, I love that one.
Now, for someone, and this one could be hard because,
Uh-huh.
like you say, you've been all over the world. But if
Yes,
you
sir.
could visit any country in the world, where would you go and why?
Um, well, I really love Paris, France. I mean, like it's something that when I go there, I love the bread, I love the culture, I love walking in this in Paris, and it's just you feel like the world is going around you. You know, believe it or not, I don't speak too much French, uh, but it's just relaxing. So definitely France and Paris is something that I love. I love visiting as much as possible when I can. Yeah,
Most definitely, man. Got that Paris, man.
that's
That
probably.
I think that's it, man. So that will wrap up the rapid fire. Learned a little about you tonight, man. Such great answers, man. Even though I think you thought about it a little bit, man. You ain't just
A
shooting it
little
out,
bit.
not.
I know. I know.
All right, man. So what we'll do, we'll take a quick break and we'll get into our teacher spotlight, man. I always love celebrating teachers. So we'll be right back. Y'all, look, not only do we got books, we got merch. Make sure you get to kdtv.com. Y'all go get something. Now,
Gonna get me some.
let's get into this outstanding educator spotlight. All right. So tonight, last week I put out the so what it is a Google form doc, and I put it out because as we talk tonight about how things are getting just real in education, right? And so the demand for teachers is coming in. We want to be able to celebrate teachers for the hard work that they do while they are still living and still working. Is everybody
Amen.
got so much flowers after they retire? How about
Amen.
now? And so big shouts out to Dr. Kerr over at A-Leave Soar Link. She went in and talked about one of her teachers. And so Dr. Kerr says Shakira is amazing. She helps me with everything and has been instrumental in helping me learn about the Soar Link programs. She put others first, but she is finally practicing self-care. She served as an AP, a counselor, a mom, a coach, a friend, you name it, she does it. And so before winter break, she made SAC take-home lunches for the students, knowing that some of them needed extra food. She gives kids snacks, and when she shares her lunch, she is so pro kid. She's fabulous. And so the personal message that Dr. Kerr said was, Miss Guillory, I could not do this job without you. I am so glad you're a part of my team. Thank you for being so amazing. Oh man, kind of touched me right there, man. Come on.
That's awesome.
Big shouts out to Shakira Guillory, A-Leaf's own. Thank you. And so if you have not nominated a teacher for the Outstanding Educator Spotlight, make sure that you get to kttv.com and reach out and nominate somebody, because we want to give people their flowers while they are here, man. So what you think about that, Doc?
I think it's awesome, man. I agree with you. I have several colleagues in the university that I tell the administration all the time. Listen, let's celebrate these guys, ladies, while they're here and they're alive. Don't wait until they die. I mean, it's great for families, but you want to make them feel special when they're alive after all their contributions. So I think it's awesome that what you're doing, man. They deserve it.
Man, they deserve it so much, man. So I agree with that. So I just hope that we get it going. Like I said, I had to kind of shoot it out. You think that once people see that inside of some of these educational groups, they would jump on it. But man, I've been struggling to kind of get people on, man. So I'll send you the link, man. If you can share out, let's
I'll
get
help
more
you out,
people.
brother. I'll help you out for sure.
Yeah, most definitely, man. All right, so that was it for our Outstanding Educator Spotlight. Big shouts out to Ms. Shakira Guillory, A-Leave Soar, and thank you, Dr. Kerr, for going in. I think she sent me an email. She said, well, I can only do one. I said, well, yeah, I think it's based on your email, but Here's another email. You know, we got about 6 emails. We educators. What? No, got to get those. So what to say? Teacher pay teachers or something. We got to create them different accounts. Let's go, man. All right. All right. So what we'll do, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. Parent Teacher Corner is next. Y'all keep it locked. Corner, let's go. All right, y'all. So tonight's Parent Teacher Corner, we're focusing on the importance of building positive relationships between parents and teachers, establishing strong communication and collaboration between the home and school, because we know that is an essential role for students, for the success of our students, right? And so as educators, we understand that parents are the first and most influential teacher in a child's life. So by fostering these positive relationships with the parents, we create a supportive and enriching learning environment for our students. And so what I want to do is just share a few tips for building those positive relationships. And Doc, if you have anything to add to these, please jump in, man. So the first one is open communication, right? Maintain open lines of communication through emails, phone calls, face-to-face meetings. Keep parents informed about their child's progress, achievements, and areas of improvement. Don't wait, because you said it best, Doc. A lot of the times we're playing defense versus offense, right? And so when that child starts to fail, or that child now has a referral, then you want to reach out to the parents. But what happened all these other times when they was doing anything? Anything on that?
And I will add there, remember to share also positive stuff. I mean, like
Yes.
I think the mistake that we make sometimes is that we only reach out when there's red flags. Well, you know how it is. You want to receive good news too. So I will put in there to like try to also share good news, not only complaints and so on. That will help to build trust too.
Most definitely. And that's what it's about, building that trust. And so once I know that regardless of rain, hail, sleet, or snow, you want the best for my kid, we are partners for life.
Amen.
And that's how it goes. Number 2, listen actively. Take the time to listen to parents' concerns, questions, and feedback. And one of the big things I talked about in the book, not sympathy, but empathy. Show empathy and understanding and address any issues or challenges collaboratively.
Yeah, I think we need to move away from making parents feel that that parent is another to-do list. And I think that if you make sure that you care and that you show that you care, I think you're gonna go big ways. And so I agree with you. Empathy is a key word there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Be approachable. Ooh. Create a welcome. Look, you know how when you first get to work, you're not a morning person, you ain't had that coffee, you got that frowned up, but that's when the parents want to talk. So create a welcoming atmosphere where parents feel comfortable approaching you with any concerns or questions they may have. And I think that being responsible and attending to their needs is that was very powerful. Don't make the parents feel like it's just another thing to do on the checklist, right? And so I think being approachable. And my next one is involve parents in the learning process. We talked a lot about this tonight. Encourage parental involvement in their child's education through volunteer opportunities, parent workshops, and school events. Invite parents to participate in decision-making process and educational activities. And my last one, show appreciation. Recognize and appreciate parents for their support and involvement in their child's education. A simple thank you goes a long way in building those positive relationships.
I love it. I think that's great.
Anything on that, Doc?
No, I think that you're right on the money. I think that making parents feel like they're part of the team, and I think that's the key point. That it's not one person or another person's responsibility. If we work together, we can help your child. So I think that's the key point.
Most definitely, man. So as we close out, I just want everybody to remember strong partnerships between parents and teachers are key to supporting student success. By working together, we create a nurturing and supportive learning environment for all students. Keyword, all students, right? So Thank y'all for joining us in the Parent Teacher Corner. Make sure, if you have not, go check out the rest of them. We got some good information. In here, we talked about technology advances that teachers can use and parents can use, right? We talked more about building those relationships because we know it's key to have that relationship. Like Doc said, not just when it's rough, but when it's positive. Let me know, because that helps, goes a long way. When that kid jumps in that car and you say, I heard what happened today, I'm proud of you. Oh my God. That kid will come back and probably move a mountain to get their report again, man.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's what it's about.
There's a lot of research on that, those 15-minute drives when especially parents who can't pick up their children to go home, that those dialogues in there, they tend to have a lot of impact on the children's life. And that's what you see, they start diminishing when children start driving or they start going on their own. So taking advantage of that time in the car, what you're saying, is extremely important.
Most definitely, man. And I think that will do it. Doc, as we get ready to wrap up and close out tonight, any final words that you want to leave us with, or anything for aspiring leaders that you want to kind of shout out there?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity. I love your show. I think you're doing a fantastic job. I admire you and I respect and I love the platform, the energy. You're really killing it. And I think, in general, to our educators out there, keep working hard. You're doing a fantastic job. You're making a difference. If you're interested in learning how to work smarter, just reach out to me and I can share some of my research. Just know that we appreciate so much what you do, and we're praying for you every day so you can continue making a difference. So keep working hard, and God bless y'all.
Man, God bless y'all. All right, y'all. This will wrap up this week of Education Unleashed. Once again, I want to say thank you, Dr. C, for coming on, taking some time out. Everybody who tuned in, thank you for taking some time out. Wait a minute. I didn't show that clip. She didn't give us the website, but Liz did say that that was a great website to learn more about executive function. I think she said she had been studying it for the past few years. So big shouts out to Liz for that. Man, that will do it for this episode. Make sure y'all tune in next week. We'll have more guests, more education, more tips that you can use. This is KT for KTTV signing out. 100.
This is Darnell with Broadcast Houston.
This is Dr. Tamara Beckford.
Hey, this is Candace.
This is London Underwood.
This is Kirsten Bass with Inner City Greens, and you're watching.
Y'all are now tuned in to
KTTV.
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 KTTV.